It is a big shame that the executioner was often ostracized.
Well, you are what you do, and more times than not, especially in, colonial, medieval, and ancient Europe, you are what you do. And it's the reason why we have a lot of bakers and smiths and fullers running around.
You are death. Oh, that's great.
The funny thing is, even now, we are privy to those same superstitions in slightly newer way. We can't believe that someone could literally reach into the heart of darkness and act in that role. There's always a part of our brain like, yeah, he's that freaky sort of guy. He's definitely that sort of monster. Most recent biggest example, Jake Gyllenhaal, the hell was that name of that movie? Nightcrawler, where everybody automatically, with him having lost weight and becoming Wayne, thought that he was a little too good to be true. He really wasn't smiling because he was happy. He was smiling to hide his psychopathy in the red carpet walks and all of that.
Oh.
So part of us is still there. Part of that old ideals are still crawling around in the lizard brain of us. He was a murderer in the movie. That means, those Hollywood types, they got secrets.
No, I mean, to me, you all just look strange. You all trigger red flags for me. Humans in general are spooky. You never know what they're gonna do next.
Yeah, it's hard putting it down, but the subconscious knows. The subconscious picks up on all of those details, plus all of our biases. It gives us a image in our head that we know what it should smell like, what it should taste like dealing with that sort of person. No matter how wrong those instincts are, they are still there. And speaking of wrong instincts and biases and assumptions made, what are our questions, suggestions, hypotheses, or corners we need to round off before diving in with both feet into the depths of NOLA?
All right, so
questions related to that, but I have a question related to this listing.
So, as far as I'm aware, the two Tremere who were the cleanup crew for the most recent Boogaloo, they're here, correct?
Did you see them?
He saw no one. He wasn't here.
You're right. Okay, so that's my answer for that one. Secondly, what is the particular title that this prize fight is for?
Oh, the announcer that put it out there for everyone to be aware of. The Warlord of the Anarchs.
Warlord, there we go. Okay. And my third question, how deep do I need to dig if I'm going to bury these two? Because I know that they're pretty much just going to turn into bones and skin whenever they, truly die, but it's still something that I need to worry about.
Which two?
Abe and, Bo, since they've hopped into the blender.
Well,
wouldn't worry too deeply about that.
Well, in the grand scheme of things, the age of the kindred determines how much is actually left. They age as quickly as they are old, if that makes sense, and they will age to the point of their bones and remains having existed in that space. With this conditioned space that stretches back to just before the guerrilla war of American Revolution, the temperature has been mostly the same. There's been a lot of years where the lower portions have been covered in water, so it's a good chance, because as corrosive and destructive as water is, their remains would be there for quite a long while.
Oh, ew. And my last question. Given my particular reputation with the Anarchs, I imagine I'm getting a lot of stink eye as I enter this place.
Well, yes, but that could also be because of the way that you're dressed. It could also be because, well, you're kind of a scruffy individual in a situation, in a place where some people have put on their, their best and brightest, because there is a lot being decided. There are sides to every conversation, and every conversation is taking a position on what's actually happening. Some being more wary and understanding of the truth of what this place is and what they are doing. Others, it's just a good place to get a drink. Nobody really notices if you pull some, but everyone notices. Everyone knows that you are a guzzling, blood-drunk fool.
So I'm the hobo that snuck into the 5-star restaurant.
Well, we don't go by Michelin stars, but sure, let's go with that. That's a good approximation.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right.
Most of the solid resorts have already headed down to the pit. Put a sub price on that name, made sure that everyone understands that they showed up scruffy for a reason. They intend to be covered in dirt and grime and blood of their enemies. May they be as victorious as they need to be to work out whatever it is going on with them. Fools though they might be. Good upstanding Kendrick going down there to waste good for Tay after bad. Or
Solid.
such.
Solid. Okay. I know I said last question, but that was a bit of a lie. Sorry about that. What is Evergreen's current situation? Like, where specifically am I, and who specifically am I with?
Well, Salem had made their way higher into the actual physical representation of Strata, because there is a lot of that jockeying for position. The higher one is in the building, the closer to understanding the game that's being played one actually is. Reverend Harper had also made their way further into the building because, well, functionality and tradesmen have their place, of course, as well. And lastly but not leastly, we have, as far as climbing the upper echelons, there's Mal, who has seemingly gone right to a heart of what is in the offing. Conversations are abounding. Service is surprisingly brisk. The servers and hosts moving between the crowd, getting bits of this and bits of that, and making sure that those who are here for the festivities of having a night out don't quite realize what actually is happening. Warlord is a name of a gang out near the Castleton area. You also have the fact that the Anarchs are, again, believed to be a gang that runs rampant down there near the docks. So those who are purposefully blithe or drunker than they should be, or just believing that what they see is what it is. This is just a brawl for it all. It's like WWE up in here. I haven't seen a fight like this in ages. Oh my God, look, he knocked that guy's jaw off. Oh my. And in between all of those various points of excitement, those in the know are aware as to what's happening, the decisions that are being made, and that the blood is not in fact fake, and that the pain is in fact real for those who are willing to put themselves on the line, be it socially or physically. The question is, in this mix, in this hullabaloo, in this fracas of activity, where would Evergreen find his level?
Well, I would. Let me do a double check of my shit here, just to make sure that I'm going according to the Evergreen that I know. Yeah. Well, let me put it this way, ST. Would it be reasonable to see going up with Salem as an opportunity to defend my ally, or would it be more reasonable to see jumping into the pit with these two idiots as an opportunity to defend my allies?
That's not a fair question. It's not an either or. It is a which would you, in the moment, knowing what the outcome is, afterhand, decide who's the most immediately at danger. Salem playing in the halls of power, running with scissors in hand. Mal climbing the thinnest, least supportive branch in the high heights. Reverend Harper slowly being absorbed by the shadows into nothingness. Or your two frontline cavalry grunts who have literally thrown themselves into a caged environment where their skills at warfare should hopefully, potentially, see them free. Or at the worst, beaten into a nice bloody pulp that you can drag out of there when they're done.
Okay, so going based off of past experience, Mal has been able to take care of herself. Harper is literally in her environment. Those two fucking idiots are literally in their environment. Or sorry, Salem is in her environment. So I'm gonna go help Harper, since most recently I had to drag her ass out of the fire, and that kind of that will inform his decision of who he believes is most likely in the most danger here. The one who historically has put themselves in a shitty situation.
Okay. Excellent.
Was it my fault?
I am with you, Reverend Harper. Gravity is a summoner, always trying to keep us down. It was not your doing. It was 100% the herd mentality of fire and gravity conspiring to ensure very poor things. And fate didn't help by making sure you rode the absolute poorest that you have rode in, 4 Chronicles?
Yeah, but this is kind of like you've got 5 children, and one of them horribly hurt themselves recently for whatever reason it is that they did, but they tripped, they fell, they busted their skull open, you had to bring them to the hospital. It's terrible. This is that your kid just got back from the hospital and you're going to make sure that they don't fucking hurt themselves again, regardless of what you've got to do.
Clearly you have never been a parent.
I am 24 years old, single, and not intending to have kids until I'm financially stable. Regardless, he has not seen anyone that is either A, not in their element, or B, has gotten themselves in trouble recently, save Harper. Because as far as he's aware, he doesn't know what Harper's element is, and Harper was the one that got fucked up recently.
Okay.
I mean, mostly. She's wasn't killed or anything.
Oh yeah, it didn't kill her. Yeah, but it's
merely a flesh wound.
Indeed.
Merely a flesh wound.
All right. What other questions?
I think I'm sold. Mal walking on a tightrope is pretty much just Mal. Salem running with scissors in a political area is Salem, although usually we are the scissors in that scenario.
Giggity.
What? And those two guys turning on the Doom music is just them. It's like the orcs in 40k. They're the only ones that truly won in this scenario.
Correction, I turned on Mississippi Queen.
Ah, yes.
I approve.
Am I wrong in assuming that if these guys fight in this pit, they are very publicly proclaiming themselves to be anarchs now?
That's how I'm assuming it. Let's go. All right. Let's see which one of us gets Warlord first.
It is not an unfair perception, which is a little problematic, because one of the many real Southern truisms is you don't go hanging out your dirty laundry for the neighbors to see. And while decisions are decisions and mistakes are mistakes, sometimes people decide to make the biggest mistakes. So it is a coin flip as to how they'll be perceived. There's always a certain amount of hospitality given. However, they are in fact locals. They are in fact relatively well-known locals. And it's like, it is like proclaiming that you go to the wrong church proudly on purpose on Easter. They're mostly going to be a few grudging, I expect as much, but there may be occasionally a well-timed shove or a bump or a reason to get things escalated when no one's paying attention. So walking home should be interesting if you all are going to walk, or walking to the nearest garage should be interesting if you all are going to walk, or be able to walk. Getting to another location afterwards may raise certain issues if you are caught in the same proximity to these individuals who have openly proclaimed that they are willing to not only just fight, because it's fine standing up for what you believe in, but they are proclaiming what those beliefs might be. How anybody else intuits it, as I am fond and often caught saying, there's but one way to find out definitively. Assumptions being what they are, it's another matter entirely. And as we are well into our hard start, and I don't believe there are any more questions. I believe that we have rounded as many corners as we can. We have tiptoed across several Rubicons and gotten ourselves in the right frame of mind. I'd like to say thanks. I'd like to extend my often thought and truly felt appreciation of your time, your effort, and your energies. Play is in fact very important. It is one of the few lights that keeps us as sane and as young and spry and mentally rounded as we possibly can. This, our world, our lives here as Americans, and our lives just as modern individuals, is often fraught with many things that seek to pull us down, that seek to impact our joy and deny us of happiness by moving the goal line. Play, we get a chance to work through those darker issues. We get a chance to work through fantabulous vistas and landscapes that we have yet to dream. We get to have all of those beautifully sweet and potent endorphins released, as well as all of those other chemicals that help keep us sane as we possibly can be in this insane world. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity of getting to know you, these characters across several chronicles, and lastly but not leastly, the opportunity to actually play. And without too much further ado until we don't, and without beating this horse that we ride, this horse that play, and dragging our feet a little bit longer, I'd like to say that this is officially City of Forgotten Care, Volume 2. Second episode, Gilah, Recounting Ariel. For many, there are only one sort of angel. For most, is not as described in any of the scriptures. The Bible, the Torah, the Quran, the Kabbalah. For us, it is a humanoid, nondescript sexual entity that has two wings and halos, and often there's just a cherub and a baby, a fat little small person with wings floating around, sometimes with a bow from Aphrodite, sometimes just a person in a very long white gown. That is not, in fact, what the angels were, not as they were originally recounted in any descriptive means. They could assume to be a flash of light. They could be a voice that you couldn't find. They were ideas, moments caught in time. One of them, of various conflicting descriptions, was Ariel, the Lion of God. And the fact that Ariel, unlike most other descriptions of angels, was this lion-headed being who served the higher power. This nondescript, this endosexual, this non-gendered entity was often described as having a feminine energy, of being a woman, of, unlike 85% of the other angels. Yet when they were in battle, they were the Lion of God. All attempts at feminine energy immediately dissipating. And that is telling. Violence and masculine energy being only one aspect of a completely mind-altering being. A situation where none of our concepts of what is one or the other could ever accurately describe a situation. And that's where the coterie of Nolans is. Because it makes no sense on any level of superficial understanding. Does this moment, does this place, does this happening make sense? As far as everyone is concerned, as far as the common knowledge, the Anarchs, as they are now, are separate and completely divisible from the Tower. The Warlord is not a position that you are elected to. It is a position that, by your belief, there's no other place for you. You are the flaming sword of the movement in wherever you are needed. And much like the Dux Bellorum, the position that goes before and acts as a harbinger for a challenging prince or a challenging primogen, or helps to establish, so too is the Warlord for the Anarchs. These are true believers. Yet here, a position that requires tactical acumen is being decided with the strength of one's own fist. Here, in a center of not only one princedom, but two, is an open election for an Anarch movement. Here, there are faces that are clearly standing and statist individuals within the Tower of New Orleans. Willingly, perhaps. Begrudgingly, perhaps. But for whatever reason they are here, they are in fact here. And so, we pick up moments, seconds, brief eye blinks from the moment that the coterie entered and dispersed, separating through the crowd, finding their level, seeking their level, seeking their like, and being drawn towards or pulled towards various spaces in the center of what Christians has always been. And there's no other way to simplify it or to say it any truer than Christians from the very beginning has always been a problem. So, with that a thought, with that sitting over us, with our minds and our eyes opening as we swing and swoop through the Crescent City, finding this back alley, once widely respected landmark of a time forgotten, entering in through the barred doors, having spoken the correct phrase and been caught in the right light to be allowed access, the line still longer than it should be, the music pumping and blaring, getting adrenaline and blood pressure up and going, the lights strobing as only such club scenes can ever do. We will start anti-alphabetical with where we are, and while Salem gives us a catch-up as to what they are realizing, what they are doing, would both Abe and Bo roll a strength plus brawl and get as high as you possibly can?
May I rouse for this?
Sure. It's always fun tempting the beast.
Well, I'm here to win.
Am I allowed to use potent on this as well?
The roll? No. The damage? Yes.
Alright, well, I'll rouse and potence.
Excellent.
We'll be rolling in the other server, because the bot does not like it here.
You triggered the thirst instead of the beast.
Yes, you did. Does your backslash work yet, or is it still just on your phone?
It's still just on my phone.
Joy, I'm sorry. Discord is having a moment with you. So Salem, with the landscape playing out as it does, with the festivities in the cage that many have been drawn to taking place, what, in fact, is Salem up to, considering this well-meaning wonderkin from across the country is here? Considering that, based on everything that you can tell from this particular situation, this individual is not only a shame to being a Tremere, he is a shame to being Tower, considering that, as far as you can tell, he is in fact the newly arrived Baron of New Orleans.
I assume it is too late to go and intercede on them declaring themselves anarchs then.
Oh no, like the clang of jail doors, there is a resounding sound and a thud of a before and after. And this is well after.
She will watch them doing what they do and rub the bridge of her nose for a moment. Then she will turn her attention to this Baron.
I didn't think this would be your thing.
It's really not. I needed to gather some information, if you will. Not specifically on the political affiliations in the room.
Oh yeah. I got drafted into this myself, but you know, it's better me than someone else. Someone else is foolish, you know, after all.
Oh?
He pauses. Just a small little nothing of a moment. And he looks you up and down, then looks over his shoulder, making sure that it is in fact just the two of you within earshot. And he drops his voice. Yeah, I thought, you being so buddy with the Wonder Twins back there, that you'd already be plugged into what's going on. You mean you don't know?
Humor me.
Well, money means nothing. Knowledge does. So,
good luck convincing the others of that.
Yeah, you don't convince anybody of anything. Let them play what game they think they're playing, and then we find out, who really calls the shots, which in this case will probably end up being me. Look, Gibo is only as strong as his opposition, right? And I like.
Not sure it quite works that way, but go on.
It definitely does very much work that way, and it's been a long time since anyone has tweaked his nose, and Caliber largely led the way. Hell, this was part of his plan. This was part of his big working towards the greater peace. Keep things just off kilter enough that people pull the other way. Get them leaning one way and you go the other. It makes things all the easier. But I'm sure you already been taught this. So, I gotta ask. You gonna help me keep the city safe? Or are you gonna be one of those problem children who get fooled by what they think they see?
I am nothing if not honest with myself.
About the only person you can't be honest with these days, right?
It's the only thing that you gain profit from honesty in.
Yeah. There is the idea of that. I better make myself scarce. Wouldn't want to be here for the big finish. You know where to find me. You can look me up at the Chantry if you actually decide to join the winning team. Don't do anything that I wouldn't do.
You betcha.
With that, he eases away from the cage, the railing where everybody was looking towards him. With that, he begins making his way further across the floor. But you basically kind of just go ahead and roll your either wits plus subterfuge, wits plus politics, or wits plus survival.
What would be the purpose of subterfuge? Just to see if my specialty might apply.
What's your specialty?
Impeccable lies.
Oh, normally no, it wouldn't apply, but yes, we'll give you it in this particular moment because there is a big lie that is here to be unveiled. There is a moment that is, well, all things being equal, that everyone's taking part of, and knowing one's place as they trot the board is another matter entirely.
Yeah, the dice spot seems to be offline right now.
Alright, so, while we move...
I'm having a problem finding the hunger as well.
Alright, while we move slightly north in the building, slightly higher in echelon, sliding towards Mallory, before we get into where Mallory is, instead of using Realm of Darkness 20th, use simple Realm of Darkness, which is that / dice roll, but not for Realm of Darkness 20th. Just one Realm of Darkness, or just / and / and then the Inkanu icon should pop up. The Inkanu is the eye with the red triangle underneath forming the circle around it, and you can use that one as well.
Okay.
And
you can work with that then.
/ roll. You can also, if it brings it up, because Discord is being a little laggy, on the sidebar, once you hit the / it'll bring up your options that you can use there on the left. There should be confession bot, confessions, Craig, Dice Maiden, Inkanu, me 6, and then the other two. Then the other two are Realm of Darkness. Don't use the 20th version, 20th edition version. Use the regular Realm of Darkness. With that being,
how do you get with the Inkanu? How do you get the option for
when you
hunger is going to be the middle box.
Well,
I have hunger, I have pull, I have difficulty, but I was looking for the other one, but I can't remember.
All you need is pull, hunger, and difficulty. Did you already rouse for your potential bonus?
I did.
You rolled 20th, so
that should drop that to 2 right now.
Okay. So your dice pool increases by 2 when you rouse. We're gonna say that it's successful, even though you use Realm of Darkness 20th. You're gonna add that to your dice pool. That goes into pool. You don't need to notate it any further than that unless you build your character in either Inkanu or Realm of Darkness. So it'll be / and you can either start with a R and it should bring up roll for you, and if it doesn't and it goes alphabetical, go ahead and hit that O, and then it will bring up pool, hunger, difficulty, and you can fill those in as per your character standing right now. The total pool, the hunger, and the difficulty, I would always put a 3 there because that's the typical standard difficulty, and even though you're aiming for higher, it will help you with the back end mechanics of it.
Okay, got it.
And if you did, yeah, okay, there you go.
All right, there.
All right. Diving back into the moment, that quiet conversation bearing far more weight than could be easily denoted by those more than 1.5 feet away, which is 99% of the persons living and dead present. There is, without a shadow of a doubt, the wool being pulled. There is, without a shadow of a doubt, several layers of social intrigue at work. There are, in this moment, a battle for right. It's often touted, and everyone knows that to the victor go the spoils, and that what that means is that the victor takes their lion's share of whatever remains. They get to decide what the value is of whatever it is that they've won. So too, quite naturally, is what's right. And in this moment, with the Asian Tremere from out east slipping away, it is impossible for Salem to not know the other shoe is going to drop. There's a huge something in the undertaking. That huge something still not quite defined. And speaking of not defined, it is significantly early, and let's do this. Let's everyone try to sort out our technical difficulties so we can dive into the scene at hand. Let's take a quick, not a full 10, let's do 6. and then be right back in the moment, picking up with hopefully Mallory sorts out her technical difficulties and we can continue with the flow already in motion. All right, so who's as alive as Kindred ever become?
Evergreen's here, Abe's here. I think Harper sounded off, didn't you?
He did briefly.
Briefly, yeah. Bo's here. I'm pretty sure that Mal is in spirit.
Yes, I am back.
All right.
Welcome back. Salem, are you G?
Yep.
All right. So, once I get audio confirmation from Harper, I think we're all back.
I thought I had said I was back.
You did.
There we go.
You did.
I'm deaf, so.
So, hopefully Discord works with us through the remainder of play. Let's do our best to lock into the scene and stay in this moment of reality with these characters. These various perceptive individuals, these monsters of our hearts, these better demons that abound our landscape currently. Salem is literally having a moment of putting 1 and 1 together to come up with 11. Bo and Abe are furiously and fiercely defending their senses and states of honor. We will tune into them in a moment. And Mallory, Mal, to her friends and enemies alike, because the only difference between the two in the world of Kindred depends on the moment. Those very same individuals that would seek to rend and tear physically, emotionally, and socially would also seek to defend and champion as befits their own particular interests. And is one of the biggest conundrums of being Kindred. There is a empty void in the center of your being that demands the extinguishing and exsanguination of every living thing. It will accept the blood, the pain, the joy of all of those pleasure centers of the brain firing off at once. But it really wants the ending of all living things. It seeks to drag and drown the world into nothingness. To mean it too what itself would cease to be. But that is the dichotomy upon which the Kindred exists. That razor's edge of giving a little so that you do not end up giving a lot. So that you don't drown in your own darkness. And Mallory is having one of those moments. Mal is sitting there in the midst of other individuals ruled insane by the width and bulk of the Kindred community. Those who don't see the many strings and the wide, endless variety and possibilities that exist on every breath, that hang on every word, and shift with every attempt to focus in on just a single path forward. Somehow, into this screaming chasm of violence, both physical and social. What exactly is going on with Mal?
If I remember right, the last thing that Mel heard from the person she was talking to is that they were shouting something that would get both princes replaced. or that there was a plan to, I guess, like, take over, if I'm getting that right. So she's kind of looking at him and then looking back towards her cohort, trying to decide whether or not it's smart for them to stay any longer. Because if that's what's going on, they came here to try to make allies, but it's not helping that all of this is going on. That people are trying to overthrow the government, and they are here while people are trying to overthrow the government with them already being in trouble.
Yes, you all have, in this moment, put forth the image for those paying attention that you are in full cahoots. You are in full accord with what is in fact happening. And it doesn't seem like that far away, but it might as well be on the other side of the country, what's happening in the cage. And what's happening in the cage is not for the faint of heart. There's rending and tearing. There's savagery that would have the ancient Romans standing on their feet and cheering at the excess of and murmuring and moving around the outside of the cage is that same feeling, because people are noticing who's cheering, who's not, who's at, and rapidly watching what's happening, as well as those who are quiet, those who are not standing at the railings, those who seem to be quietly and conscientiously objecting. All of these details are being picked up by some. Being a watcher of people and a intuitor of behaviors, there are sides being drawn. There are cliques being formed. There is a movement in the works.
So with that definitely going on, she is going to slowly work her way back toward Salem. And probably Harper. I think they're kind of on an even level, but spread away from each other. So hitting Salem first, hopefully, so that she can speak with her.
Salem's watching a tall, lithe individual with long black hair, dressed in over-the-top, sumptuous leather trench coat, move further away, slip between the crowds, and begin moving their way out of their door. Now, does Mal typically keep up her obfuscate, her cloak of silence? Her cloak of, I forget what the actual discipline is called, but does she have it? Is she as quiet as a church running across freshly fallen snow, or is she just approaching?
Yeah, she dropped obfuscate when she got in there. So she's been visible and such this whole time.
So 1 + 1 = 2, but 1 and 1 = 11, though, unless, of course, you consider it in Roman numerals, 1 and 1 is 2. Once more, you're back to the beginning in the circle of it all. This does not make good and rational sense. Such an open display of outright rebellion against Prince Gibol is... And just as you're a finger's breath away from seizing on that spark, that final piece of the puzzle, Mal is there. Saying,
We gotta get the hell up out of here. You don't know. The guy up there, I know he's a little crazy and such, but he wasn't supposed to be here, and he snuck back in to help overthrow some shit. So we need to get out of here. We can't be here right now.
me, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I know, but half of us are apparently declaring for the cause.
You kidding?
She points down to the cage where they're getting ready to fight or are actively fighting, one of the two.
Oh no, they're actively fighting.
I swear to God, Squirrel got more brains than the both of them two put together. Shit. How do we get... Well, we can't really get them out, right?
No,
If we go in there, we fighting.
we can't get them out in either sense of the phrase. And the best part is now we're guilty by association.
That's why I'm saying we need to go. I mean, I hate to do it, but do we cut and run?
I don't know. Honestly, I'm at a loss. I'm supposed to be babysitting, but if I cut and run, then I failed in that task. But if I stay here, apparently I'm an anarch.
And speaking of conundrums of choice and where one stands and the truth of whatever may be afoot, as Salem and Mal attempt to put their heads together to make a decision, to make a resounding choice, far enough away to be in their own world and close enough to be part of the festivities of this moment, Evergreen and Reverend Harper are making themselves at home. It is a veritable who's who of the quarter and the outlying areas, the immediately contiguous wards and neighborhoods, the Faubourgs from just beyond the quarter. The kindred that have made several appearances at Calablarshi's Elysiums, though now most recently held by the Grand Hostess Morgaine of the Lamplighter. Those who have scrabbled and fought for a little piece of this wet, moist slice of heaven that is the Crescent City. And then you have those who have had a few issues here and there. Those digging themselves out from underneath last year's scandal, last month's scandal, or, well, in the moment, such as yourselves, yesterday's scandal. In other words, there is a wide assortment and selection of kindred present. So getting lost in the crowd and enjoying the moment. Reverend Harper, Evergreen, what might you two be up to?
Well,
Harper would just be sitting there firmly, hands folded on the table.
So present yet abstaining.
Yes.
And as for Evergreen, so long as he can, while we are within this mass of individuals, keep an eye on his coterie mate and ensure that nobody's attempting to shiv her in the back amongst the crowd. Fuck it. We're here. Might as well socialize a little bit. We fucked up anyway, so. Just going to interact with the bits and pieces of the crowd that will be willing to talk to him in a way that is not, all right, fuck off. We know who you are.
There's an old saying, any port in a storm, any small bit of safety and security against the storms of the world, against the, as the insurance companies like to say, acts of God. It's a concept that doesn't really make sense when the accountants, the fiduciary, and other forensic analysts of the insurance companies can just about pinpoint the moment and cause of a person's death. The actuaries from years out, from decades out, they know the odds, barring most things, of when you will expire. Yet the insurance companies typically add a clause that absolves them of responsibility in light of acts of God. It's a no fault harm. Things happen. And if too many acts of God happen, they also cancel your insurance. It's funny when one considers it. And so as Harper and Evergreen try to abstain with presence and spark small talk with the kindred nearest at hand, it is impossible to be unnoticed. People are gauging where they stand and what value their positions in the city based on the cheering and agreement of what's going on. There's an old scene in Blazing Saddles where the mayor says, "I didn't get a harumph out of that guy." And while there's nothing quite so simplistically put forth as that, you can see an occasional squinting of an eye in consideration of the kindred not taking all due part. And as Harper and Evergreen abstain and socialize with their presence, and it is no small surprise that settling at the table are the two magisters that brought fire to cleanse the clear-cut breach that the coterie created, took part of, and were victim of at the lamplighter. The male settling, resting one arm over the back of his chair, the other on the table, gently thrumming. His equal, his partner, the Mrs., settling in on the other side of Harper, folding both hands neatly on the table in front of her. And while he doesn't speak, the clear look of castigating what Reverend Harper is sits down his face. A lopsided smile, bearing no teeth, just a lightly lidded eye, as the Mrs. speaks up. "I'd hoped to not find you all here, but in light of that, I'm glad that you are where you all belong. I've often thought that the purposeful usury of human emotion was a bit poor. It's like a whore of the heart, without even giving the physicality behind it. How do you do it?"
So, from whatever position it is that I am currently engaging with a group of kindred, I'll quietly, hey, I've got somewhere that I need to handle something, and start making my way back to the table while Harper gives her response.
Harper will let her eyes drift over shrug. We seem to find ourselves in all sorts of strange places, don't we?
You do. There's a saying, there's an understanding, that while cream rises to the top, Scum will always sink to its level. I hope so much better for you all, especially being as Miss Buckland has spent an inordinate amount of time making sure that you all have a good, upstanding position to be looked on. Shame, though it is. I was just telling my good friend and husband here that it was all for nothing. That you all probably should have been stuffed into a closet at the lamplighter. Just like all of the others. Before the fireworks, is there anything we should consider about you? And they look as Everett closes on the table. Is there anything that, to put it lightly, we should keep in mind? Now is the time for such a thing to be said, because once the fireworks start, no matter whom we go running tattle to, can't make an omelet without wringing a few chickens' necks.
I suppose my business partner would not be too pleased.
Oh, that is a good consideration. Thank you for reminding us. Wouldn't want any loose threads out there in the world. Speaking of loose threads, hasn't that jacket seen better days?
Yes. Unfortunately, I've not had an opportunity to make it home due to your decree of having a babysitter. So, if you'll excuse my appearance, that is partly due to your ordinance.
I'm so glad you all were attempting to keep your noses clean. But I wasn't speaking specifically about your jacket. After all, I would never insult you after providing such a clear-cut thread that had been forgotten. So when the clean sweep needs to take place, we will make sure that all things are properly tidied up and put where they belong. And they look towards Evergreen. No matter who your daddy is and who holds your leash, if you keep piling around and proving to have fleas, you will be dealt with accordingly. Perhaps you'd like to gather your compatriots and leave while we still are extending a professional courtesy.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Appreciate the offer. Harper, you ready to go?
Of course.
Wonderful.
Assuming there won't be any fires this time getting in the way.
Hopefully this time, and he looks over to the woman with a very pointed look, we'll manage to get out before the fire starts.
That has yet to be determined, but it's always nice to have all the fish that need frying in one place at one time. I believe the cooks, the chefs, those who engage in the culinary arts call that mise en place, having everything where you need it to be before you begin, so that the meal and the cleaning is taken care of in one fell swoop. Run along. Go fetch your party before it actually begins, as best as you can. And anyone left in the building will be deemed. And then the male speaks up. Will be deemed as having no real value. Will be deemed as worth as their actions have proven. And in some cases, we may have to bring out the newspaper to swat all of the... And he pauses, looking from your shoes to your pants to your t-shirt and jacket up to your face, sneering a little bit as he looks at the unkempt manner of your beard and your hair before settling on your eyes, holding there, daring there. Because one of the most dangerous things you can do to a kindred is dare to hold eye contact, as if you're Doesn't matter how strong they think they are. There's nothing there that they can do to ever harm you. He holds eye contact a second or two, waiting for, like a good dog, for Evergreen to look away. And when he doesn't, he smirks. Oh, yes.
I'll give him a returned lopsided smile as I help Harper up from the table. You know, I'm a little bit disappointed, to be perfectly honest. Whenever I was coming over here, seeing you two at this gathering, I'd hoped that would give me, well, a very pleasing opportunity in the future. I look forward to seeing you two again. Have a good night.
We will. We definitely will. After all, it is amazing that someone with your business acumen in such a safe location out of the city hadn't run back there like the cur that we expected you to be. There were others there, of course. But they don't really matter in the grand scheme of things, now do they?
I wouldn't say any of us at all matter in the grand scheme of things. Only what happens. Well, it's been lovely. He'll start his go fetch. As it has been made very clear that this is about to become a powder keg with a lit fuse. Or, more appropriately, the fuse has been lit, and we've got a very limited window to get the fuck out.
Right.
Hoppa, do you think you can go and gather the other two while I guess, fish those two fucking idiots out of there?
Good luck.
And speaking of fish, explosions, and monkeys in the barrel, as those conversations are taking place, as those grand calculuses are being made, a story below, in an former cistern lined with iron and steel, designed to hold the boundless strength of the dead and the many vanquished, locked in hell. Because that's literally what it is. Kindred being kindred rarely ever resort to full-on physical violence. The moment that has begun, it is usually already over. The moment that has begun, both parties have already lost. The moment that has begun, well, every kindred worth their salt has had nights, moments, where the beast managed to escape. Every kindred worth their salt understands that the consequence of that happening is never good for anyone, including themselves. Shrugging it off, shirking it off, turning a blind eye to it is how most kindred get by. But they also are smart enough to rarely ever put themselves into a situation where the beast will have its way. After all, there's some pride in not being mastered by your darker impulses, not being a slave to a childish venting. Because the beast is the inner child. The beast is all of the intrusive thoughts. The beast is every less than socially positive aspect of the kindred. The beast is the part of themselves that is so repugnant that they have to conceptualize it and personify it as something else, someone else. It wasn't me that slaughtered the tenement. It wasn't me that killed my family. It wasn't me. It was the beast. So given the opportunity to let the beast free, given the opportunity to dive into the full vibrancy of all of that baleful violence, Bo, Ravade, outnumbered, outgunned, because every man is for themselves. What is your first, second, and third actions? Because while the conversations and while battles of will and while social wars are being fought around the cage, and sides being drawn up inside the cage is a gladiator's wet dream.
Well, I'm hazard to say my actions are find a motherfucker, beat him into torpor, find a motherfucker, beat him into torpor, find a motherfucker, beat him into torpor. Possibly with another motherfucker, in that order. I don't know. Or are you looking for, like, very specific things?
Oh no, keeping it simple is always a good thing.
I'm applying the military philosophy of keep it simple, stupid.
Oh yes, and most of the combatants in the cage are simple. The idea of what being a warlord means, having easily escaped their understanding. Most of them are here because, well, there's a chance to kick ass, take names, or in some cases, take names and you know, not get your ass kicked. Because there's a difference in philosophy of fighting to win versus fighting to not lose. That philosophy is apparent in the first jaw that you misalign with the spine. That philosophy is apparent in the first arm that goes snap, crackle, and pop. That philosophy is helping to lead you through the targets in front of you. And there are many. There are enough that the beast is chortling and shrieking its glory and joy in this moment to the world through you. Its voice is annoying and mildly distracted because it is urging you ever more. Take the eye! Take the eye! No, the other eye! Take them both! Ah! And both.
To keep it simple, I'm working my way as quickly and as efficiently through as many people as I possibly can. Not necessarily just trying to beat them into torpor, but more or less disable, move to the next person. Disable, move to the next person. And I'm working my way as whoever closest, not counting Abe, is a target.
Now, when you say disable, are you meaning disable as far as the living are concerned, or as far as the body dead, the ambulatory corpses that are what you, Abe, and most of the combatants in the ring actually are?
I am more certainly still trying to respect the traditions as much as not killing anyone. But when the body goes plop, it's on to the next person.
So, with several generations of distance between when Abe served and when you served, with several decades, entire philosophical schools of thought difference from when Abe served to when you served, the basic idea is still very much apparent in how both you and Abe are moving through the ring. It is decisively barbaric. It is as swift and as violent as possible, doing as much damage to those who stand against you as is possible. And everything for both you and Abe are going swimmingly until there's a point in every battle where the tides turn. And for those with enough distance or enough cognitive distance from where that's happening, they see it as it approaches. There's a moment where what seems to be a rout You realize it's pulling you further and further into that folding circle, that bowl that is forming around you of broken and discarded individuals that seem to be nothing more than speed bumps on the way towards a clear and decisive you and Abe battling it out to be the most supreme of all things warlord of New Orleans. But you two are not the only determined individuals. You two are not the only violent monsters giving vent to their darker selves. You two, with your initial takeoff, that rocket burn of blasting through the cannon fodder, you realize that the wiry busybody that managed to stay away from both of you all, that through bouncing off walls, utilizing height, utilizing stealth attacks, has managed to steer most of the weaker individuals towards you all. Most of the individuals that didn't matter towards you all. Being as he, oh shit, it's not a he at all, it's a she. 5'1", if an inch. Quietly there amongst the crowd, easily forgotten, easily overlooked. None of the over the top, easily recognizable tattoos, no piercings, no undercut. Her hair pulled into a ponytail of her dreads, tucked into the collar of her shirt. There's nothing too baggy on her person. And she's been using her ring-covered hand very much like someone who had been taught a bombway or another wrestling combative art. Because it's a wrench and a tear and a dodge here and an evasion there. Because even the kindred grow tired. And what you've all managed through sheer, unadulterated, wrecking power, she has managed with guile. Purposely antagonizing more than one opponent at once, getting them to bottleneck, presenting backs and opportunities of attack for both you and Abe. It isn't until as Abe is rending another kindred into torpor and his arm is snatched back, throwing off his aim, which opens him up to a flying body tackle that was intended for her. But you realize that she's been working against you the entire time. She's been utilizing your force and your efforts to throw you all out of contention. Because the truth of the matter is, as strong and as implacable as you both are, there is a limit to your stamina. Mentally more so than physically, but there still is a limit to why won't they just die already? Why won't they just stay down? Fuck! And you're nearing that point. You're cresting the wave of your actions slowing just enough. And you notice her still saving energy and utilizing other opponents against another, just as she just did to Abe. And just as you're catching on to that fact, you fall prey to it. A stupid trip tackle shouldn't have been possible, but with you already in the midst of another attack, it took all of your momentum, sending you sprawling to the ground beneath you. You and Abe tumbling into a corner of the squared circle that you all are in. You realize that it's very much over. It is clear that it will come down to you, Abe, and her. And working together is officially a no-no. Working together would give you all the greatest opportunity of victory. But working together would also take you out of contention for any consideration afterwards. And as the situation grows dimmer and grimmer, both of you all have received would you guys be so kind as to do the math for me here? Go ahead, subtract 7 from your stamina. Tell me how many levels of damage do you all have at this point?
Does the endurance specialty up? Oh no, that's efforts. Stamina.
Yep. 7 minutes your stamina.
That would be 4.
You've taken 4 health levels. Bo,
That would be 5.
you've taken 5 health levels.
Is that ag or?
Nope, just unhalf superficial. There are 3 other individuals standing. Her, 2 individuals that managed to survive the onslaught that you've all put forth, and you 2. So there are 5 combatants left. Most of them winded, and even though that you, as a no longer living individual, don't have to breathe, there are lots of heavy breath taking place. There are lots of people mending fingers back into place, snapping shoulders back where they belong, adjusting spinal columns with a stretch that would normally kill the average person, and otherwise preparing for the final conflagration of Golconda. This is the final battle. This is the apocalypse. And the crowds above are going wild. The crowds above, you know that someone has lost at least a month's salary and perhaps more with the betting that's happening. You know that the kindred gathered have traded one boon or lost another betting on you or someone who's fallen. What is it that you all are saying or doing as everyone prepares for this last go round, this last end all be all?
I'm gonna hope that it didn't change in the 100 years since Abe and me both served. I'm gonna try to communicate to him using hand gestures. I'm sending them his way for cleanup. And then I'm gonna start helping him through some of the fights by basically expending my energy to weaken them so that he can clean up, and I want him to kind of fall back.
Okay.
So that he can actually clean up and not take as much damage.
Being as it is silent, being as it is not being said, the clarity of that, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your manipulation and leadership, or your charisma and persuasion, to communicate that effectively, because you're doing it without actually doing it. You're saying it without saying it. Does that compute? Does that match up with what's being received on Abe's end?
And now to quickly Google how the hell hand signs and shit have changed in the military in the last 100 years.
I like the idea that his intention is, hey, you back off, play a little bit more carefully. I'll handle this shit. And instead to Abe, it just looks like he's tossing more fuel onto Abe's fire. Like, dude, why are you putting more speed bumps in my way?
I mean, meanwhile, it's like in Abe's mind, it's like, Bo is just the perfect shape to be a battering ram. I could sleep.
Yeah, he didn't catch it.
So, for the record, as you all head into the final battle, as you all head into the apocalypse, Abe, to transliterate what that hold sign is, you're too old for this. You don't belong here. Stay back so you don't get hurt.
Okay, good. So this is gonna rationally go into what I'm about to do. Good. Well, first thing first is
Pop the freaks to all the honeys, dummies, playboys, bunnies, those who want money.
first things first is to rouse to heal that superficial damage. I think I can only do that once right now, correct?
Yes.
Alright. And this will just take a minute because I have to type it on phone.
Oh,
And I'd be a grandpa in that regard.
So between Bo and Ape, who has the highest wits?
That should be Ape.
Wits of 2.
Wits is only 2.
All right, so each one of them are moving effectively on the same turn. Each one of them is aware of as much as possible. And give me a quick second. Let me look over this NPC really briefly. And if it's higher, well, much higher, i.e., if it's just a little bit higher.
I do have celerity. Throughout the course of this fight, has it been obvious that people are using their disciplines?
It is obvious that everyone here is out to destroy every other entity inside this squared circle. Everyone here is seemingly out for not just blood, but the very essence of the other person's existence. They don't want to just win. They want to win grievously. Between the stomped in skulls, and I don't mean that you just stepped on someone's face. They have literally embedded their boot print onto someone else's brain. Sinuses filled with broken bone debris. Orbital sockets, that's just a resting place for my fist. Level of combat. While when attacking and dealing with humans, it is very easy. When dealing with mortals, it's very easy to dismantle someone. Take a limb. With kindred, that's not the easiest thing because they are oftentimes mending right before your eyes. So you have to make sure that it costs them more to mend and get up and keep fighting than it does for you to expend that energy. And most of the 5 remaining combatants, you, Bo, her, and the other 2, are aware of that, and you all have dislocated shoulders so thoroughly that the only thing keeping them in place is the torn muscles and the skin. You all have shattered knees, sending someone to walk as if they have a reverse position joint. You all have all but actually ripped out rib cages. You created a opening like something out of an H.R. Geiger film where the ribs were normally nice, confined, connected with all of the sundry parts, are now open like fingers reaching towards heaven inside someone's chest cavity. You all have dislocated and rearranged hips so severely that if they were not already dead, they would have died twice over. This is not warfare of any strata acceptable with anything living.
Right then. With that in mind, in the hopes that it might also help, potentially, Abe will also rouse for fleetness.
Excellent. Fleetness is always a good thing.
He is now at Hunger 3 between those 2 failed rouses.
Alright, the beast is closer to the surface. The bad intentions have grown closer and more apparent. And speaking of growing closer and more apparent, as you all begin justifying and preparing for the final exchange, the final countdown, as it were, a story above your head, evergreen with Harper in tow, Mal and Salem, closing the distance between yourselves and where you were on the floor. What is it that you all are doing, discussing, or planning?
Well, my intention, I suppose, is to get those 2 fucks out of here as soon as possible. I assume that is going to be a difficult scenario. Yeah, I've already said to Harper that, you know, she go find them, I'll go grab these two.
Yep. Divide and conquer.
Yeah, Salem is gonna assume grab Mal and go look for the others to get out of here because something's about to happen. And she doesn't even know the propositors are here yet, so.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what they are?
It's such a disappointment that they're, like, apparently still on the Camarilla side. Otherwise, man.
Right?
What a shame.
Right. Anyway, yes, heading over towards Salem and Mal.
Okay. So, quite simply, with everyone working together, roughly together, the plan being to beat feet, potentially taking allies and associates, having witnessed what happened, even just out of the corner of your eye, what's happening, a story below you inside that pit. There is clearly no one escaping, or at least easily escaping that moment without, well, being chewed up and spit out. The gates aren't even open to remove the fallen. They're forced to lay there and mend or watch what else is happening, because it has been a war getting this far. The two guards outside of the gate, they're not really guards, but they effectively operate as guards. So they've managed to close the gates and keep an eye on. The emergency medical team that's on standby is literally there to, you know, put a stake in anybody that actually loses themselves on the way out. They're not there so much to help as just to drag whatever is salvageable out once things are over. You all could leap just from where you were into the ring. You could go down to that first sunken floor, that story, and try to work or talk your way in, or fight your way in, as the case may be. Or you potentially could do something more grandiose, something more distracting, something that borders on the insane. Whatever that is, you kind of need to discuss that or figure that out. You, Mal, and Evergreen, who's heading towards the cage. What is it that you all are actually doing?
Okay. Just real quick, to those that are beside me. The tools that I have in my disposal are very limited and very precise, so y'all let me know if you've got any specifics as to how you want to do this. Otherwise, I'm going to try something probably really stupid.
Well, as long as what you're going to plan is not getting in there with them, then we should be able to figure something out.
Alright. Next plan?
Next plan is the GTFO, because this is a counter keg that's about to go up.
Alright. Okay. Do we think we know any situations that would cause them to open that gate up prematurely?
Anyone have a streetwise at 3 or higher?
I do not.
No.
Nope.
What about you, Mal?
Anyone have...
No, I'm tapped out of 2, but I got a specialty in conman.
Would she potentially know a con that would be able to get her out of this?
Her? Yes.
What a fucking shit.
You know, with everyone...
She just walked out the door.
You know, with everyone focused on the cage, now would be the perfect time to sneak away. There's a perfect distraction there, keeping everyone focused over there instead of looking at exactly where you are. You can even blend in with the staff and walk out through the back door. No one would notice. Of course, no one would notice.
All right, so that's a no on that.
It's odd because I've got both subterfuge and persuasion, and I've got impeccable lies with subterfuge.
Oh yeah, you can lie your way out of this at a heartbeat. Like, this is child's play. Everyone's already distracted. There's already so much going on. No one would. You would be scot-free. You could disappear right now. It's harder on you mentally right now not disappearing. There's so much going on. There's so many pocketbooks available. There's so much cash and valuables just in the information circulating on the floor. No one would notice if you picked up a few things on your way out. It is child's play. You reading the scene, reading the moment. Everyone is caught up with the excitement of what they believe they are witnessing.
All right, so there's a lot of fervor, a lot of very, very bloodthirsty crowd, right?
Yep, this first 2 rounds that they have fought has been the stuff of legends.
Okay.
And for those with a tactical mind, those remotely aware of social tactics or actual full-fledged military tactics, they have revealed just how dangerous they are to anyone paying any attention.
Yep. All right, so it's against the rules for people to just jump into the pit, right?
Why?
Alrighty.
Ian, are you ready to also be a battering ram?
No, I was kind of considering convincing the crowd to partake. And using that confusion, that flood of bodies to allow you two idiots to make your way to the gate and rip that fucker open.
But how do you communicate to them in the ring?
Also, I want to do
over the screams, over the blood, over the fact that at least Abe's beast is closer to the surface than you have seen it in a very long while. It's impossible for a kindred to not realize just how dangerous it is being locked in with not just your own beast, but some other kindred's beast. It is impossible that the prepositors, that the Tremere, that the 2 magisters had not come here for a specific reason. There's no reason for them to ever really leave the Chantry. There's research that can be done at 100% of the time. Unless, of course, they are called, summoned, or forced, there's no reason for them to just be out clubbing.
Yep.
There is no reason that the would-be Baron disappeared before the final decision as to who the warlord was. There's no reason that the high-ranking members of the tower that are actually here should be here, yet they are. You ever have those moments where you're playing a game, a long-ranging game that you've had to save or cut off and play day after day for a week straight, and you put it away for a month, and then you come back and forget exactly where you are? The game is still going on, but you forgot where you were, what your next thing to do was. That's what this feels like. There is some game afoot, and it has been in the offing for a very long time, and someone else has just decided to pick it back up and begin playing without realizing what the next step was.
Yeah.
Mal looks at Evergreen. Look, I know you a never leave anybody behind sort of guy, but they got themselves into this fucking mess. They gonna have to get themselves the fuck out of it. We cannot be here when whatever's about to go down is going to go down. It's 2 lives for 4 lives. I'm not willing to give my life up.
That's the way you 3 look at it. That's the way you 3 gonna approach it. Have at it. We've already been in this situation before. You 3 attempted to walk out while us walked into the fire, and I get that. I really do. But I ain't the type, and I ain't never gonna be the type.
Don't make me take your leg. Then we can carry you out of here.
Yeah. I appreciate the attempt at healing him out. As he just kind of looks at the pit. And just a really loud, fuck. How difficult would it be to get their attention? I assume quite in the midst of this frenzy.
Hard to say. You never know what goes through a man's or woman's mind in the middle of everything.
Okay. Kind of attempting to mask that I'm calling for their attention. I'll whistle to them, but in like the kind of cadence that you use in the military when you're attempting to communicate without giving off that you're like a bird. And see if I can get their attention to be drawn to me as the kind of, hey, I recognize that. That's weird. Why the fuck is that going on?
What?
Not like the full like hoo-hoo or anything. That'd be fucking weird as shit. But you know what I mean. Like a whistle specifically used to get people's attention. Phrase this properly.
Okay, what are you attempting, if and when you get their attention?
All right.
What are you attempting to communicate quickly?
Right. Yeah. Simply, he's attempting to direct them to get the fuck out. Let them know, shit's about to go down, get the fuck out.
Okay. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll either your charisma and leadership, or manipulation and persuasion? And inside the cage, inside the brewing final showdown, the final countdown, the final exchange of aggression and animosity swum through with violence, with both of you be so kind as to roll your wits plus insight standard DC. If you are successful, you will hear and discern Evergreen clearly. If you fail, you will hear Evergreen, but not discern clearly what he's attempting to relay about get the fuck out. You'll think that he's telling you all you shouldn't have got in there.
It's very much a very distinctive, that is rough.
So you need to remember that I am on 3 hunger.
Yeah, I understand.
You're making me roll more stuff, buddy.
Hey, fuck you. It's just a very distinctive, very loud whistle. They're just kind of going along with the cheering and the goings-on of the crowd. Fuck!
All right.
Fuck yeah, let's go!
All right, so, hey. Bo. Evergreen, in the middle of this crowd, in the middle of everyone else, is rubbing it in that you all are fighting your hardest. He is sounding a retreat. He is rubbing in the fact that you all are in the pit fighting for your life and not attempting to help whatsoever. He's picking right now to give you a good old-fashioned ribbing. He's picking right now to start up the never-ending battle between the Navy and the Marines. He is picking right now to have you all take part as Coast Guard at a gathering of the armed forces. He is picking right now to effectively
that ain't good.
Yeah, that cut off really hard. I swear to
Well,
God, if he's doing a chicken cluck, that is totally fine.
While all this is going on,
You go ahead, Salem. I apologize.
while all this is going on, Salem will roll her eyes and throw her hands up and look at the other two and go, "You can't save drowning men from themselves, so I'm getting out of here."
Yeah. Y'all have fun with what it is. I'll catch up with you.
Yeah, the response that Ian gets from Abe is Abe not even looking at him, just raising a middle finger in his direction. Right before what he's about to probably do to poor Bo.
Both those crumpled men at the cage door where Evergreen is kind of sort of at.
Yeah. Just up from the stands, just fucking, I guess, chattering on in what sounds like, "You fucking idiots! Get the fuck up!" It just, the message is lost, but very much the, "God damn it, you morons."
Look, man, I'm just in here to relieve some stress.
Yeah,
I'm doing that.
You'll be relieved, all right. All right, well, seeing as that plan did nothing but get me flipped off, I suppose we're going the route of fighting my way to the fucking cage door.
All right, so let's get down to brass tacks, shall we? Let the mechanical aspects speak for themselves. You each three will roll your strength plus brawl plus whatever you're planning on doing with all of your rouses intact. Now remember, you already roused last turn, and that blood has been spent. That vitae is already utilized by your system. If you are rousing this turn, go ahead and do so. If you are mending this turn, go ahead and do so. Otherwise, roll your strength plus brawl, which will be contested by the forces already at bay. And while that is happening, while those tempting of fate, kismet, serendipity, and all of the others who laugh at our decisions, Salem, Mal, Harper, having lived a mortal lifetime as part of the quote-unquote fairer sex, there are a lot of things that were and still are in a lot of places, in a lot of ways, inherently biased against taking you all as full functioning, mentally cognizant individuals. It has gotten easier to recognize and call those things out, but even in a situation such as this, there's a certain invisibility you all have because you are not taking part in mindless aggression. You are not taking part in the bloodlust that is moving through the crowd. You are not taking part in the clearly masculinized ideals in the happening. If you all would be so kind as you are making your way out of the building to roll your wits plus awareness one last time.
See, guys, praying to Satan has its upsides. The rest of you, fucking, you're all gonna die in there.
Look, that's fine. It makes perfect sense that all of the beat sticks in the party all die in the same place, and that all the intelligent people are the ones that survived.
That's usually how it works.
I hate both of you.
It's your own damn fault.
Oh, it's my fault.
You decide to come in here.
I said I'm fighting my way to the gate. I didn't. Pardon, what, Hazel?
You could have left with the smart people.
I could have, but never leave a man behind.
Yeah, you're not leaving them behind. You're helping them escape.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we're getting our way to the fucking gate to unlock that bitch and drag these sons out. That is all that matters.
A smart thing. That would have been a good play, actually.
That's what I said. I didn't say I jumped in the fucking hole.
You could jump in. The water's fine.
There's only 5 of us in here. You got this. You're uninjured.
I am uninjured, but that doesn't mean shit. You went from uninjured to 5 superficial in a single roll.
Only 4.
No, I was talking about Kai.
I went 5. I definitely went 5.
All right. Fate has spoken. The moment is passing. There's a quietude falling over as certain kindred in the crowd who are actually watching, their faces begin dropping. There is a quiet that begins rushing through the crowd. The 2 Tremere who were accosting and speaking with Harper is speaking at Evergreen, slipping to opposite sides of the building. There is the same order of operations happening a story above. Small things placed in drinks along the way. A clearly concerted action in the offing. And while those subtle things go by unnoticed, Salem, Mal, and Reverend Harper exit out into the moist, surprisingly warm New Orleans night. Their destinations could be nearly anywhere, and no matter where they choose, they are in a far better position than in the now. At the end of the alley, there are 2 police cars, and not just police cars, these are actually paddy wagons. At the cul-de-sac, the small little between way, the courtyard that you all use to slip in and slip out of places unnoticed, there's a gentleman standing there smoking, him and his 3 buddies. You notice that the doormen are no longer out front. The line that was here is all gone. The lights, the sconces along the various buildings leading down the alley towards the main entrance of Christians, most of them are out. There's a quiet in the air that is unmistakable. It is what happens before the storm hits, and what happens once the storm hits and you are in the eye of it. Most kindred worth their salt use smoking as a cover for breathing on winter nights. It's easier to do that than to tempt the beast and summon up the semblance of living. Those of you in the know, with a wit of 2 or higher and an occult of 1 or higher, realize the gentleman smoking is doing just that. Those of you with at least 2 and streetwise realize that while everything on those paddy wagons looks exactly accurate, those police numbers don't match. The door and the hood don't match, and is not an official, actual member of New Orleans police. Those lights were on when you first got here. The line, even once you all entered, was still long enough that there should be a significant amount of kindred waiting here. The doorman not being at the door, it's like the captain jumping overboard as the band still plays. And adding the largest bit of injury to insult. The prince has a right-hand woman. Prince Gilah has a right-hand woman who was dangerous enough that in her living days managed to talk her way into death. Not just to death, but into being embraced so that she could bring back most of the secrets of the New Orleans chantry to Prince Gilah. And she is leaning against the police car, flipping through a leather journal. She's studying something. She's practicing something mentally in preparation for whatever it is that is going to befall Christians. Is there anything you all would like to do in those moments of recollection? If there's anything that you all would like to plan, to say, to discuss, as you all are standing in this unseasonably warm New Orleans winter night.
Mal looks to the other two and very quietly leans towards them. This ain't no part of good. I don't know what is about to happen, but I know it's no part of good. They either gonna gather them all up, whoever's left, and take them somewhere and make them disappear, or you experiment or something. I don't know. But this ain't no part of. We can't go back for them. We can't. They made their choice, but we need to not be here either.
Well, judging from what her, and she'll gesture at Salem, bosses were saying in there, it's not going to be pretty, whatever it is.
Which bosses?
Oh, the two that told you to watch out for us.
Salem
Husband
will bite
and wife duo.
Salem will bite her lip a little bit and go, "Yeah, it's about to be real fucked in there. Let's be somewhere else, shall we?" I assume the girl with the notebook, the right hand, is also a Tremere.
She is. She is Gibbo's Tremere. Specifically called that. Oftentimes to her face, because that's the truest thing that anyone has ever done. She died in service to Prince Gilah, simply so that the Tremere wouldn't be able to hold anything over his head. As a counterpoint to Calabalarshi seizing power and becoming the respected prince of the court. Her determination and drive and her sense of loyalty to Gilah is absolute.
I guess if we have to walk by them to get out, I will just beeline right for her.
Well, look who it is, Miss Buckland. It's such a pleasure to see you. How are our little double agents going?
Well, matters. I didn't realize that we had some double agents. I came here to get some information, not realizing it was the spark of a rebellion and a powder keg in there tonight.
Oh, that's to be expected. These things need, the first act of any play should pull you in. It should make you believe that there is something that might happen, that there might be a happy ending. And, well, sacrifices do, of course, need to be made. But it's been a very long time since the city has been truly united. And thanks to whoever was responsible for removing more gain, Prince Gibeau can wrap his hands completely around the totality of what New Orleans is and will become. If I were you, I'd probably stand back. There's going to be quite a few sacrifices made tonight so that we can actually stir the rabble into responding the way that we hope. And if they respond otherwise and don't go along to the plan, no matter what the agreement has been, there won't be just a sacrifice. There'll be a culling. Right now, the target is that whoever wins the warlord position to act as the spark to ignite the rebellion, to act as the sacrificial lamb so that the Baron will have good reason to raise up an army against Prince Gibeau. Most of them don't realize that the Baron is actually working with us on this.
I assume you're aware that several kindred were placed in my purview recently in connection with the events at the Lamplighter.
Yes, we had to make sure that they were not actually anarch. Everything else pointed toward, well, them being exactly that. And we don't want any actual anarchs in the city, just those that think they are.
I'm pretty sure that they are not. I don't know their hearts or their minds, but they have seemed to have been rather not anarch. I ask because 3 of them are still inside, engaged in what their dead testosterone drives them to do. They were unable to be retrieved when we found our way out.
I don't see Evergreen amongst you. They are mostly well, correct? The prince would look poorly on their devastation. He'd understand, of course, but hopefully they're not.
Evergreen actually showed amazing restraint. The other 2, however, he is trying to extract from the combat that they are in.
That is a shame. Anastasia will make sure that he at least has a swift staking.
As you must, Magus. I just wanted to point out that their baser instincts got the better of them. I don't think they're thinking clearly. Putting in a word for them, as it were.
I will pass your word along to Gibeau. He will be in a mood if his dirty boot is permanently stained, but to make a few omelets, you have to wring a few chickens' necks.
I would never presume to tell you how to do your duties, Magus.
Of course not. Of course not. I'm looking forward to seeing you at the trial that will be tomorrow.
I wouldn't miss it.
And speaking of missing, there is no accounting for how violent things can be when kindred decide to bear fangs and utilize everything in their arsenal to grievously destroy an opponent. Let's start in reverse order. Evergreen, what is your wits?
It'll be 2.
Oh, everyone's moving on the same exact turn. Save. Well, we'll get to that in a second. So, instead of reverse alphabetical, let's go in alphabetical. Abe, your first several actions, your intentions of doing so. What were you planning?
Well, I was, after the grievous insult that Bo messaged me, or at least how I perceived it, Abe is going to attempt to one hand on the back of Bo's shirt, the other hand on the back of Bo's belt, and he is going to begin using Bo as a blunt force object, if possible, against the other kindred.
The intent is to make him into a battering ram.
Yes, exactly.
Ouch. Bo.
I was going to fix, considering I cleaned up as much as I possibly could for him, I was going to focus my attention on the girl to put her down. She needs to go. She's out of her league. Assuming that Abe got my message and would be hanging back, so once I hurt her as much as I could before I dropped, he can finish her off.
It must have been one hell of a surprise when his hand patted your back.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, yeah, he's got it. He'll hang back. It's fine. What?
That's literally exactly it. Getting ready to charge forward, growling your aggression to the world. Abe is suddenly there. Not only spurring you on, it would have been kinder for a swift kick to the ass to throw you off balance into their waiting arms. No, you're lifted off the ground, your weight and girth used as literally a battering ram. Your arms are free, your legs were free, but you were not in fact free. And unfortunately for you, running a few times where you expected the shirt to tear, the cloth to rip free, it did not. Curse you for buying substantially well-made items of clothing. Because Abe was in fact maliciously disrespectful to your clothing, using it as the handle with which to maneuver you by. Force meaning force. Unstoppable object meaning unstoppable object. The explosion of Vitae, shattered limbs and broken parts, second only to the raise in noise levels outside of the cage. The doors burst open as Evergreen staggers forth, using his own leg as a cudgel against the last few defenders, keeping him from making it into the cage. Just in time for him to witness Abe and Bo going down. Just in time to witness the small, spry, kindred woman sacrificing herself to keep Abe from having his neck twisted in the most non-chiropractic manner possible. As she goes down atop Abe and Bo, bloodied, beaten, pulped in various places. Evergreen is standing as the next to last kindred for the title of Warlord. The trail of bodies in Vitae behind him, a sign to, well, skill, luck, fate being as cruel as it is. Because as you make it into the cage, with Bo and Abe down, with the strangely spry small woman laying atop them, there is but one non-coterie member, non-recognized combatant standing. And as the doors, rusty and heavy as they are, come flying into the cage, just ahead of Evergreen breaking free, he whirls and he looks at you, and looks at them, and he charges you, Evergreen.
Fuck. I literally just showed up in time to be the boss monster.
Well, better late than never.
I shouldn't have been in here, you dumb fucks.
Well, it's your own goddamn fault.
Oh, I'm gonna drag your torpid asses out, and I'm going to throw you in the fucking river. Oh, that's nasty. Oh, that is a nasty, messy crit there.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
That's not good.
As he charges, is there anything that you would like to do, Evergreen?
Yeah, my objective here isn't necessarily to fight this motherfucker, but, I unfortunately seem to be in a position where that's just about the only way that I'm going to get my people. And being unaware that, being the last one standing makes me the sacrificial goat, as it were, he's going to have to... Alright, guys. I could potentially attempt to, do the whole... Hey, you're the winner! Raise the hand! Ah! Or I could just try and fight my way through him.
What do you think Evergreen would do?
I don't think I necessarily have a choice. I think that messy critical makes up whether or not I'm going to be able to get through this non-combat-wise.
Congratulations. You've successfully defused the course of action.
You can intimidate him.
Yeah, That's unfortunately not how this is going to go down. All right. As the individual is charging at me, what Evergreen's going to do, using my grappling specialty, I'm not necessarily attempting to do damage to him so much as use his momentum and throw him out of my way so I can make my way towards those two.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a great idea. Don't hurt him. You should never do that.
Fine, I'll fucking hurt him. I will do as much damage as I possibly can to this bastard. As he's charging me, I will still use his momentum, but rather than attempting to throw him out of the way, I am just going to pendulum his ass into the ground. If I am able to.
All right.
Let's see what the dice say.
Brawl. Strength plus brawl. What does fate say?
Well, fate is kind. Fate is generous. Fate is beautiful. Let's add another prayer to Good Lord Stan in here. Good Lord Stan, bring me luck. Oh, that is horrid. Okay. Oh, that is horrid. Yes. I told you, people, praying to Satan, it's the way to go.
And like a light suddenly coming on, just a flick of a switch is all it takes. Already beaten, already at near wit's end, moments from the full grip of his beast, Evergreen drives him into the ground, hearing a resounding crunch. And as he stands victorious of the cage, the now confirmed warlord, the crowd that had been quieting itself this whole time suddenly ceases its chanting, its cheer. The announcer, who is 2 stories above head, looking down into the cage, says, "All right, kindred of New Orleans, you're one, you're only, you're official warlord." And then the lights go out, and the gas shrieks and cries of pain began erupting as a few buckets of vitae drip down into the cage, as a few body parts drop into the cage, as the sound of fleeing feet and escaping kindred fills your ear in the silence. There is nothing like being baptized in the life's essence of the gathered kindred. There's nothing like realizing that in several fell swoops, Evergreen is now officially declared an anarch. Torpid does not mean unaware. So just as the lights go out, just before that darkness settles over you all, you all realize that Evergreen is there in the cage. You hear the announcements. So even in that near purgatorial void of torpor, you are aware that Evergreen has been declared officially anarch in front of the bulk of New Orleans Kindred Society. While outside, moving down the sidewalk, heading away from Christians, you all feel it. And there is a weight that settles over you all. And if your vitae had a mind of its own, it would have been pulled towards Christians. If your beast had its druthers, it would, right along with your vitae, been rushing back towards Christians. There's magic, and then there's whatever the fuck was done by those inside Christians. You are sure as you stand that nothing but badness has just happened. And didn't she mention something about sacrifice? There's several ways to pick the right fight to start a war. It has to be grievous enough that not only are they physically hurt, but the pride is wounded to such a point that there's no recourse for them but to fight. And you are sure that the catalyst for that, the inciting incident for the city being at war with itself, has just been finalized. Someone was playing with matches near a gas can and a powder keg, and the natural occurring results have just settled into place.
This is some CIA bullshit right here.
With that laying over our minds and thoughts, with our hearts caught up in the moment of success, a victory is still a victory. A win, as they say, is a win. But what did you all win? You all now have been officially connected with, and at least on the surface, leaders of the Anarch cause. Guilt by association and innocence by no one's consideration. On that note, I'd like to thank you all. This has been a lovely episode. I look forward to seeing you guys next time in the city that care forgot.
I hate both of you.
Hey, you're an anarch.
Hey! Yeah, we're anarchs. What'd you expect?
I hate both of you.
See, this is why mixed coteries don't work.
I